Everything around you seems safe until you start noticing the details. So, this happened in 2019. I was renting a place in a small town in Oregon, the kind of quiet town where you can hear dogs bark and garage doors slam at night. The house was old but cozy, creaky floors, the smell of dust and coffee in the mornings. I didn't look for solitude. I just wanted some calm after the divorce and changing jobs. Across the narrow yard was the neighbor's house, a man in his 50s, ordinary, a little awkward, but always polite. I never remembered his name, though he introduced himself. Maybe Tom, maybe Ted. He almost always smiled, not a wide smile, more like a reminder to himself to look pleasant. At first, I didn't pay much attention. He was just part of the background. But after a couple of weeks, I noticed something. He never turned his lights off. Never. I could come home at 2 in the morning, 3, even at dawn, and his windows were still lit. A steady yellow light in the bedroom and the kitchen. I thought maybe he worked nights, or he was afraid of the dark. But every time I passed his house, he would be standing at the window. Sometimes smoking, sometimes just standing, not moving. It started to feel wrong. Not because he was there. People stand by windows all the time, but because it felt like he was waiting for me to look his way. One late September evening, I stayed late at work. It was around midnight when I walked up to my door. His light was on, as always. I looked up, and for the first time I saw him looking straight at me. Motionless, expressionless. I immediately looked away and went inside. From that night on, I kept the curtains closed. A few days later, I woke up with the feeling that someone was in the hall. Silence, only the hum of the fridge. I lay still for a minute, listening. Then I got up and peered through my bedroom window. And froze. It was raining outside. His window was glowing as usual. He was standing by the glass. But now he wasn't looking at the street. He was looking directly at my house. I backed away quietly, trying not to make a sound. And then a small thing happened. The kind of detail that fractures calm. In the morning, I found muddy footprints by my door. As if someone had stood there a long time. In the rain. Without moving. I told myself to ignore it. But that night I woke up again. This time from a sound. At first I thought wind. Then I realized it was a scrape under the window, like a finger tracing the glass. I lay there, not breathing, feeling cold run down my spine. Then footsteps. Slow, almost silent. They moved away, then stopped. The next day I asked the landlady about the neighbor. She hesitated. Then she said quietly, "You must be mistaken. No one has lived there for 3 years." I didn't know what to say to the landlady. Nobody has lived there for 3 years. Her words just hung in the air, and I didn't even ask anything in response. I just stood there, nodding like a fool. But when I got home, the neighbor, his light was still on. I even took a picture of it with my phone. Warm yellow light, a shadow by the window. He was standing there. He was definitely standing there. I sent the video to my friend Jake. He lives in Portland, is a techie, and always explains everything with logic. He wrote, "The problem is the old bulbs, dude. Maybe you're getting a reflection, or someone rented the house and the landlord doesn't, I wanted to believe it, but something inside me was gnawing. Something about this just didn't add up. The following week, I decided to go closer, just to check. The house was old, the paint peeling, the yard empty. I went to the window. Inside, nothing. No furniture, just dust and old curtains. But when I took a step to the side, the light turned on. Click, and I heard movement, like someone walking across the floor. I jumped back and ran back. By the time I reached my porch, the light had already gone out. From that evening on, I began recording everything that happened. Sounds, time, details. I didn't trust myself, which meant I needed to gather evidence. But the more I wrote, the less I understood. One night at 3:40, I heard muffled laughter. Quiet, as if someone was standing right under my window, laughing into their fist. I grabbed my phone, turned on recording, and looked out. No one. And in the morning, I noticed my door wasn't fully closed. The gap was just the width of a palm. I clearly remembered locking it with the latch. I called the police. They arrived 20 minutes later. 2 of them, polite and tired. They inspected the house, came out, and shrugged. It's no sign of forced entry. Maybe it's the wind, or maybe you forgot. I wanted to show them the house across the street, the one where nobody lives. But when we approached, there was no light or windows. The house looked abandoned. Boards, nails, peeling walls. The same one. but not the same. The policeman looked at me and said, "Sir, are you sure this is the house?" I didn't answer. I simply stared at my reflection in the black glass of the old window. And I saw someone standing behind me in the reflection. Since then, I haven't slept at night. Sometimes I think he is standing by the window again, this time in my house. And when the light hits at just the right angle, I see that same smile on the wall opposite. That same even smile, as if he were simply reminding himself to appear friendly. From then on, I stopped turning on the light at night. The less you can see, the safer. Or so I thought. I started checking my recordings, the ones I'd taken on my phone. One video shows a window across the street, night, a dim light. About 5 seconds later, a figure appears in the frame by the glass, standing and staring. Not moving. I paused, zoomed in, and froze. It was me, exactly me, same t-shirt, same cut on my neck from shaving. Only my face was a little different. As if I was still smiling. I assumed it was a glitch, a recording glitch, or some kind of timing issue. But 2 days later, I found a video on my phone I didn't remember recording. In it, I'm entering that same house across the street, in the dark, with a flashlight, and I'm saying something quietly, barely audible. I am back. You were waiting for me, weren't you? I woke up in a cold sweat. I checked the door. It was closed. The windows locked, but there was dirt on the hallway floor. Footprints from wet boots. Mine. I remember the boots were in the vestibule. Clean. Now they were covered in mud, as if I had just come in from outside. I tried to convince myself it was all a dream, but when I turned on the flashlight on my phone, a message appeared on the hallway mirror. Simple, subtle, like a finger brushing through dust. I see everything. You were in my house. I ran into the living room and turned on all the lights. And then I heard a sound, the creaking of the floor upstairs. Slowly, one board at a time. Someone was coming down. I stood there, holding my breath. A shadow fell on the wall. A step, another step, and I realized I could see my shadow, but I didn't move. He reached the last step and stopped. His face was exactly like mine, but his eyes were empty and black. I couldn't move. He smiled and said in my voice, "You finally awake." The light flickered. Everything went dark. I woke up in the afternoon. In my bed, there was a new folder on my phone. Quiet Fear, footage number 1. It contains a video of me looking into the camera and whispering, "He is already inside." Now it's my turn to wait. After that night, everything became blurry. The days were the same. The hours were silent. I stopped understanding whether I was sleeping at all. Sometimes I do wake up and see new recordings on my phone, in my voice, but not me. I watched them. Then I found them again. The police came again. They said there was nothing on the cameras. No lights, no people, no house across the street. Just an empty street and me standing in the middle of the road. 5 nights in a row. I started doubting everything. Myself, my memories. Maybe I'm just tired? Maybe I'm the one who can sleep? The doctor at the hospital said I had acute sleep deprivation, possible hallucinations. He smiled like that neighbor. The same flat smile, as if forced onto his face. The last thing I remember is returning home after the examination. I closed the door, turned off the light, and just sat in the dark. I decided I want to look out the windows anymore. An hour passed, maybe 2. I heard a soft click. The phone screen turned on by itself. There, there's a camera on it, and in the window, this reflection is me, standing outside, looking inside. Since then, I lived with the curtains closed. I done to turn on the light. I try not to remember what I saw, but sometimes, when I walk through the house at night, I feel someone watching from the street, right at eye level. And I hear a quiet voice, similar to mine. Sleep. I'll keep watch.